has he put another 50 cents back in the meter to allow us to go live? I think he has. Hello, everyone. Welcome to myself, Max McGillivray from Beanstalk Global. We are with some very interesting experts from the UK horticultural sector today, whilst we debate the topic being the update on the UK horticultural trade delegation to New Zealand horticulture in March 2020. So let's run around everyone and get an understanding as to who we've got on. Ali, you go first. Could you introduce yourself and who you represent, please?
Yeah, hi Max. I'm Ali Capper. I'm a farmer and grower on the Herefordshire Worcestershire borders, growing apples and hops. I also chair the NFU's Horticulture and Potatoes Board and British Apples and Pears.
Ali, thank you very much. Chris, over to you. Who are you and who are you representing?
Thank you, Max. Chris Moncrieff. I'm Head of Horticultural Relations for the Royal Horticultural Society, so just fresh out of Chelsea. I get the hardest jobs in the world, I guess, on that part. Previously, production horticulturist, I was Director of Production for the Vitacrest Group down in Sussex.
I forgot that. How can I forget about your involvement with the Vitacrest Group? So that's a really interesting mix, Chris, coming from industry into the amazing trade body organisation that's the RHS. I've got to ask you, Chris, do you love the RHS? Would you think you'll come back into the supply side, or are you with the RHS for forever and a day?
I think both sides are trying to claim that I've gone to the dark side. I think that's one of the key messages I'm getting from both. I've never ruled anything out about going back. So yeah, definitely an option. But at the moment, the RHS is real fun. As I say, walking around doing sort of shows in Chelsea at 5 o'clock in the morning when nobody else is there is kind of magical.
Yeah. Very privileged. Mr. Ward, over to you, please.
Good morning, Max. Yeah, it's Jack Ward, Chief Executive at the British Growers Association.
Excellent. And Jack, I have to give you congratulations because you're fantastic on the lobbying basis for British growers and the groups that you represent. That you managed to get an article or got quoted in the Times, but I don't know if you got it, if you saw it. That the Daily Mail then went and plagiarised that article. So yet again, you've been quoted in the Daily Mail. Jack, how do you feel about that?
I'm astounded. I have no sort of preference over Daily Mail or whoever. If they're prepared to print my words of wisdom, then good on them. Yeah,
but in all seriousness, it was great to have that strong lobbying, that strong articulation of the issues that we're seeing. We're just briefly talking about it in our green room before we went live. To have people like Jack, like Ali, like Chris representing the horticultural sector, because by crikey, do we need it? But come on, let's major on this broadcast topic today. I'm just going to read out some background information that Jack's very kindly sent to me. It's slightly long, but I want to read it out, especially for those on the podcast, because it is important as to what we're looking to achieve with this broadcast. So let me go for it. As the UK leaves the EU and takes back control of its agricultural policy, new opportunities and new possibilities open up for UK horticulture. The future direction of travel for the sector is laid down in the government's new Ag Act. Historically, horticulture has fallen outside main support mechanisms within the CAP. Over the past 30 years, the area devoted to fruit and veg production in the UK has declined by 30%, but improvements in productivity have resulted in a 36% volume increase in the production of fruit and vegetables. Over the same period, there's been a substantial increase in imported fruit and veg, as we all know. The growing interest in diet and health is focusing attention on eating fresh, unprocessed food and the vital role of fruit and veg in the diet. The UK has started to see an upturn in the consumption of fruit and vegetables, and even more so in the back of the pandemic. And if the nation was to meet the daily Eat Well recommendations for fruit and veg, it would massively increase demand. With the UK's excellent maritime climate, perfect for growing, it makes sense to produce as many fruit and vegetables for UK consumers. UK horticulture stands at the edge of a major opportunity to deliver not just a continuous supply of high quality, high provenance fruit and veg, but also play a major part in improving this overall health of the nation. The big challenge is how. Part of the UK's exit strategy from the EU is the negotiation of free trade agreements and an FTA with New Zealand is seen as a priority for the UK government. The New Zealand horticultural industry has many parallels with the UK industry. It is broadly similar in size and turnover, but services a large export market in contrast to the UK industry, which is mainly focused on the domestic market. In March 2020, a delegation of UK industry representatives visited New Zealand to explore the New Zealand horticultural sector, to understand its challenges and its opportunities, to examine what could be learned, what new ideas could be adopted, and to explore what new relationships might be possible between our two nations. Each member of the delegation travelled with a different objective. Ali, you went on the basis of how to grow the sector, export markets, opportunities, policy issues, and solutions, catalysts for change. Jack, you went to look at how to bring value and profitability back to growth businesses. Chris, how to attract, educate, train, develop, and retain key staff. And Lucy Jackson, New Zealand lead in global trade negotiations at DEFRA, she attended to look to examine and understand the horticultural sector in more depth. An executive summary of the trip and associated findings has been compiled in collaboration between the AHDB, British Growers, NFU, and the Royal Horticultural Society, and reports on findings from a DEFRA-led trade delegation to New Zealand in 2020. There are several similarities between the UK and New Zealand fresh produce industries and some significant differences. Here endeth the message. So if I've summarized that correctly, let's just start again. Jack, how did this trip come about? What was the catalyst for it?
Back in 2000, I think it was 2019, I got an approach from DEFRA saying that they were keen to have a look at the fresh produce industry. I think they, like us, recognize there are opportunities. And as you mentioned in your introduction, horticulture has fared pretty badly under the CAP. We've now got a clean sheet of paper with the Agriculture Act. The big question is, what do we put onto that clean sheet of paper? And one way of coming to that answer is to actually look at other successful horticultural economies and see what we can bring back. And so we were approached as a team and asked for our thoughts. What might we want to go and have a look at? Who might we want to go and see? And bit by bit, eventually it was pulled together with a lot of help from the staff in DEFRA and a lot of help from the Foreign Office and the guys based in New Zealand. And in March, I mean, literally days before lockdown, wow, we headed out to New Zealand and were able to go and see a really good cross-section of their industry, talk to everybody that's involved with their industry, you know, see the best examples of what they do, and then bring those ideas back and give them some thought, and then explore how they might be applied here in the UK.
Thank you. And Ali, was it a natural choice, do you think, for everyone to initially look at New Zealand on the basis that their trade agreement's been set up with other countries? Was New Zealand the go-to country on this basis?
Not necessarily, actually, Max. I too was asked what my view was in terms of where we should go, what we should look at. And my response was, well, if you want to look at a producer, a country where there is excellent export, excellent marketing understanding, then we should go to New Zealand. But actually, if you want to go and look at a market that could be a market for the UK, then we should go to China. It's probably lucky for us that the government chose to go to New Zealand and not China, because our trip would definitely have been cancelled if China had been chosen. Yeah. So, you know, at the stage, at those early stages, you know, there's only a number of places we could have gone to look at to really bring back different types of learnings. But for me, New Zealand stand out because they are excellent marketeers, and they're very, very good exporters. And clearly that resonates with UK government, who are very, you know, very focused on exporting and trading with other countries around the world post-Brexit.
Ali, thank you. Chris, in some ways, it's lucky that you did go to China, because at worst case, you would have been locked down and you would still be there, wouldn't you, 18 months on? And I always think of, there's an example of Peru. Peru was in dire economic straits some 10, 12 years ago. There's the new government that came in, and they realized that their answer to economic salvation was actually fresh produce. And so they started to invest inwardly, and also got external investors to come in to plant large-scale, very professional avocado plantations, and that saved the Peruvian economy because of the export trade. Chris, there's a similar story, I believe, with New Zealand, that they had a light bulb moment, and I'll have to go and look on Google 10, 20 years ago, when they realized that their route to economic gain was on the export side. So Chris, when you went out there, was that obvious to you? Were they welcoming to you and the rest of the delegation as to the respect of sharing that information with you? What do you think, Chris?
I think we were amazed by how we were welcomed, to be honest, Max. I think we were all blown away by the hospitality that was shown to us by all, generally by everybody in New Zealand. It was a fascinating tour to be able to undertake, and particularly for me to see other aspects of horticulture that I hadn't seen in the past. Their industry obviously focused on export, massively focused on export, because of the low sort of population compared to the UK. And that was one of the key drivers that we got to see when we were out there, how that lower population and therefore lower domestic market meant that they'd had to target exports, and how they'd really, as an industry, got so massively behind that. I think what we also were able to see was we were able to visit different parts of the industry, right the way from government, who made us very welcome at the very highest levels. That was really impressive to sit down with their primary industry department, but also right down at the base level with growers who were literally fighting to keep the apples coming off their trees, to actually spend time with those people and hear their difficulties. So we saw the whole spectrum, right from the base, right from the production, right through to the government who created the sort of the arrangements and things that these people worked under.
Chris, well done. If there's one thing I've learned over the last 18 months, and have run 160 plus broadcasts on a UK and international basis, collaboration is such a key thing. And in the UK, with my farming background, I've always been slightly concerned that farmers aren't that good at collaboration. If you compare it to, say, dare I mention the French and the French cooperative system. Jack, did this collaboration element with New Zealand, were you, like Chris, were you pleasantly surprised how welcomed you were by the New Zealand end, but politically and the grower side of things?
Yeah, I think, Max, interestingly, there was a sort of reciprocal element here, because it was mentioned a couple of times, the way that the UK ended its trading relationship with New Zealand when it joined the EU is still, sits in the psyche of some New Zealanders.
Does it?
And the impact that had on their industry, not just fresh produce industry, but their milk industry and their sheep industry, had a very, very severe impact. Suddenly a big traditional market was lost. And that was one of the catalysts for them completely reforming the way they saw their industry and where they saw their markets. And it was really interesting to hear how they had responded to that situation. And interestingly, they were quite interested in saying, well, now Brexit's come, you're in slightly the same situation, that you have cut yourself off from the European market. Where are you going to go in the future, and how are you going to manage? And so, there are a few parallels. We're both now out seeking to become, let's say, global powers in the food industry. I don't think, we're ever going to compete with America or some of the other parts of the country, but there are some real similarities in the terms of, our excellence in the production of fresh produce. And it was particularly interesting to see how they had turned that to their commercial advantage. Yeah.
And these legacy elements I find fascinating. And having been through the likes of South Africa, one thing I kept on coming across in South Africa is that a number of the growers and the marketeers are worried about the perception globally of the previous apartheid regime. But you ask anyone in the UK, they can't even remember what apartheid was. And I would say to them, don't worry about it. No one remembers. Jack, did you find the same thing within New Zealand, that they've got over that baggage of how we perhaps treated them in the past, and hence why you were so welcomed?
Yeah, I think what they've seen is that actually it's forced them to look for alternative markets. Yeah. And what they have concluded is there are a lot better places to sell fresh produce than trying to sell it in the UK and Europe. That the markets that they found in South Asia and China have been particularly lucrative. And when you look at sections of their industry, you can just see how well they've been able to do and how well they've been able to reinvest back into their industry and perpetuate their development.
Excellent, and we'll come on to how that came about a little bit later. Ali, when you landed there, did you just get in an Uber with all of you and just merrily drive around? How was it bossed? How was it orchestrated? How was the trip planned out? Where did you go? Who did you see, please, Ali?
No, nothing. Completely the opposite, actually, Max. We were very lucky, as Jack alluded to at the start. The Foreign Office I had worked really hard with the team out in New Zealand, and we were put into a minibus and we were driven around North and South Island
Wow.
by the lovely Simon Bull, who is based out in New Zealand working on behalf of the British Foreign Office. So we were treated incredibly well, welcomed with open arms, and we had a full schedule of visits. Quite close, a couple of us are Nuffield scholars. It did feel a bit like a Nuffield scholarship.
Excellent.
Where there was no room to breathe and a really full schedule. At every end of the day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and everything in between. So really, absolutely no time wasted. And I'm very pleased to say that for the sectors that I represent, apples and hops, we managed to get in and see pretty much all the businesses that I would have liked to see. So yeah, it was an excellent trip.
Ali, thank you. Chris, I'm guessing it wasn't like a North Korean journalistic trip where you had a minder on your shoulder and you couldn't take pictures of certain things. I presume, although it was an orchestrated trip, you had freedom within that trip when you were with the growers or the representatives. You could ask what you wanted to ask to find out what you wanted to find out, Chris. Correct?
That's absolutely correct, Max. I think we all know from New Zealanders that New Zealanders, they're great because they tell you the truth, and they really were upfront with everything. So we actually progressed around sort of New Zealand plant and food research. We went to various growers. So as I talked about apple, we looked at hops, as Ali said. We also went to a glasshouse grower, which pleased me. It was good to get a glasshouse in there somewhere and looked at some herbs as well. So that was really, really, really lovely to do. I think you talked about how we were guided. I think that's the choice of words we should use here, that we were guided around in terms of a very light hand from our minders. We didn't really have any minders. We just had the lovely, as Simon said, the lovely Simon and Lucy, who acted on our behalves at all times and just made sure that we were having the time that we wanted to speak to the people, have a quality conversation. I think that's the key here. And we had many a quality conversation with many different individuals. So.
Excellent. So here come the questions. An MD who wishes to remain anonymous in the sector. How much more sophisticated is New Zealand horticulture in comparison to UK horticulture? Go on, Ali. Let's give you that hot potato.
No, it's a really good question. And I would say the actual growing businesses themselves are very similar to our growing businesses here. But what is so much more sophisticated, for me, there are two things. The first is the relationship with government, who really believe in their primary industries, completely have the back of the sector. So that's the first area where it is just so much more sophisticated. And I think the second area is on the representation for the industry. There is one organisation. If you want to go and understand about New Zealand horticulture, you go to NZ Hort. Here, which is reflective of the three faces that you have on screen, actually there's only a number of people to come and learn about UK horticulture because we have so many representative bodies, often giving different, slightly confusing messages, I think, to government. And for me, the one area where we're far less sophisticated is in the way that we line up as an industry and that we are represented and we promote ourselves. It's very fragmented here in the UK, and we break it down unnecessarily so, in my opinion, but it makes our promotion of the industry and our appeals for the appropriate investment funding for the sector, the appropriate export funding, actually means that we're very disparate and fragmented in those asks, both to government and indeed to export markets. We don't look very joined up. What New Zealand are brilliant at is one brand, and that is New Zealand NZ Hort. I wish we could achieve the same here.
There's a couple of points on that side. If you just look at what's happening in the short term in the United States, the two big fresh produce organizations there, the PMA, Produce Marketing Association, I think on my backdrop, and United Fresh, mainly through financial issues, they're coming as one as of the 1st of January. And actually within the state, they're very happy because they had two organizations singing the same thing and trying to be in the same figurative trough membership wise. And you look at, well, let's throw it back to Jack. Jack, it's a difficult question for you to do you think we are fragmented? Do you think we need to get to one or a smaller number of trade bodies to represent the sector as a whole within the UK, a la New Zealand?
Yeah, I think that's one of the recommendations that came out of our report, is that we need a sort of unifying vision. I think, the other thing that struck me was, they do work together in a very joined up kind of way. And the whole thing is kind of well organized in a way that I don't think we are here in the UK. We've got a number of different organizations, and I don't think we have the impact with government, or we haven't had the impact with government. We certainly didn't have the impact with the EU when we were part of the EU that we could have. And I think one of the recommendations, and sits at the heart of the report, is, how do we work more effectively together? How do we try and coalesce around a common vision that works for horticulture, that sells horticulture to the government as, a real positive? It's not a negative. There are so many positive aspects for UK horticulture. How do we engage government to make sure that we realise the opportunities that lie ahead? Because undoubtedly there are opportunities, but you can see, from the press at the moment, we're kind of constantly dragged back by, operational issues, whereas what we really need to be doing is looking at the opportunities for the future and asking how best we grasp those opportunities. And I have to say, New Zealand is very much better at doing that than we are.
Okay. And I always come back to the Dutch diamond. Those that attended the last City Food lecture in person, I've forgotten her name. There's an amazing lady from Holland, and she majored on this Dutch diamond. And I think, Jack, you and I've talked about it before, where in Holland they have government, industry, and education, and they form it as a diamond. So each area, sector is relying on each other to create this virtuous circle of information, communication, and in some respects power. And it sounds, Ali, when you were just describing the context, the foundation, the setup within New Zealand, it sounds like they've got a similar system. They just call it a different thing. Chris, how achievable do you think it is, if that's a learning from this report? Is it to set up a structure similar to New Zealand on that trade basis to really promote UK horticulture within country and also externally? Chris, how likely do you think that is?
I think just to pick it up quickly, Max, first, is I just wanted to say how joined up it was, because it's nice to take an example of that. As we were landing in New Zealand, a government broadcast came up on our screens within the aeroplane, pointing out that we shouldn't bring anything nasty into the country that would harm their biosecurity of their horticulture. So horticulture was hitting us as we landed, literally within the aeroplane. So I think that thread of the government's involvement within the horticultural industry runs throughout various strands, be it biosecurity, be it training and development and careers advice, be it other areas as well. We talked about R&D. You ask how possible it is. I would say it's eminently possible. I think in New Zealand, they had a number of organizations that had to come together. And when you think that Hort NZ has 21 trade bodies now that sit under its umbrella, that's quite a feat to bring all those different trade bodies literally under one umbrella.
Yeah, and I go, Chris. I go back to my example again of South Africa. South Africa has the FSA Fruit South Africa, and there's got 122 trade bodies underneath that. But it's the FSA who promote South Africa on that basis. So again, there's another example out there that can be done. So Jack, if I was going to give you the proverbial magic wand on the back of the report, what would you like to do now to create further success from the trade delegation, please?
Well, I think it's all around trying to get this shared vision for the industry and achieve this partnership with government. because undoubtedly, there are certain things that government needs to do in order to make some of this happen. We've got an agriculture bill which gives the government a certain amount of flexibility and the opportunity to do stuff. And it just seems to me that we're just mired in issues at the moment. It's really, really proving difficult to get government time to focus on our industry. There were some really interesting and encouraging comments in the National Food Strategy about promoting our industry and increasing the production and the consumption of fresh fruit and vegetables. And there is so much that we could be doing. We're not looking for vast amounts of money from the government. We're not looking for subsidies. We don't need any of that. There are just some areas where some pump priming would make a huge amount of difference. But and so for me, it's very much about this vision. And I think in general, the organisations that work with across the fresh produce sector do talk to each other. We talk to the NFU on a weekly basis, and I think we share many similarities. And in many respects, it sort of doubles the voice that goes into government. So I don't think there's any problem with us working together. I think the big issue at the moment is getting government airtime and ministerial attention.
And Ali, on that side, on the basis that DEFRA was so hugely involved with this delegation, presumably they are waiting to go through your report page by page and to get to the last page of the recommendations and to hear hopefully the lights of this broadcast. Surely you're all pushing against an open door in government on the basis that you can collectively create this success that DEFRA want to create. Ali?
I completely agree with what Jack has just said. But I would say that what we also need is a real commitment from government. It's not just about the industry having a shared vision. I think we're a really highly productive, highly invested, very entrepreneurial sector. But Jack's right, we are mired. And it feels at the moment that we're mired in things which the government can fix. We're mired in access to labour policy. We're mired in the future of AHDB and our R&D. These are all sitting with government, these issues. There's a whole issue around R&D and investment into the long term. And if I may, I would go as far as saying that for many growers, it often feels in the UK as if this is a sector that is dismissed. And actually, I've unfortunately had too many instances where I've heard officials and ministers say, well, you're dispensable. We don't need to grow food here. We can import it. And until we make that cultural change in government where there's a proper commitment to the production of fresh fruit and vegetables and plants and flowers in the UK, then for all the shared vision that we might have, for all the entrepreneurialism, for all the business investment, it feels that we're trying to take the sector forward with our hands tied behind our back. Yeah. So I think that government commitment, and we saw that in New Zealand, we saw a government that was committed to its primary industries and committed to trying to make sure that it supported that sector exporting around the world. And the government saw that as a GDP opportunity, as a growth in GDP, as a good tax take, as a good source of revenue for the government. I honestly often feels that we are entirely dispensable here in the UK.
Okay, and as we film this, where are we? Beginning of October, we're in the middle of the Tory party conference. Boris Johnson is probably speaking now or in about half an hour. He hasn't told me yet, but we had him on mainstream TV over the last couple of days, just not taking seriously, in my opinion, the issue that's happening in the likes of the pork sector. But what's so annoying is that we've had other people on with Jack, Tim O'Malley, Nationwide Produce, £150 million turnover business. We're in the zeitgeist at the moment. We really need to use this opportunity to really spring forward UK fresh produce. There's a saying that I've used, people talking about South Africa, where they've learned that never waste a crisis, and the crisis of the pandemic. We can use this opportunity to really propel UK horticulture to the level of New Zealand horticulture. But if the big blocker is government, we've just got to keep pushing them and keep lobbying them. Chris, what do you think from your perspective and your background with the RHA? What can we do to persuade, to leave a government to recognise what can be done in comparison to the success within New Zealand? Chris, what can we do?
Well, I think the fact that we've been to New Zealand and the government were with us, the government have seen the opportunities. If I can just use one example, the recognised seasonal employer scheme in New Zealand, which was born out of crisis, I think, in terms of the New Zealand industry requiring labour. As we are sitting here, as we know, the similar situation that's impacting on the UK. And New Zealand looked at it, and I think the government, together with the industry, came up with an innovation to use the Pacific Islanders to bring this labour in on a controlled basis to help harvest the crops, help service the industry. And the scheme has grown and grown and grown up to where it is now. I think 14,500 people are coming in from those Pacific Islands. But I think the wonderful thing about that is this, and the reason I use this as an example, and what government saw out there with us, was the fact that this scheme has given us a win-win, that the Pacific Islanders have come back to the Pacific Islands. Dramatic figures, I think, just to sort of quote one figure, I think was 140 million went back to one of the islands alone in terms of earnings from the islands over the years. And the fact that these islanders were coming back year after year after year, and some had done 14 seasons. But the industry was winning, the Pacific Islanders were winning, the government was winning, because it was all under control, and it was all very much about putting wealth back into these Pacific Islands. I think if we can find innovations and go with government having been with us in New Zealand and seeing those innovations firsthand, you hope that will find its way and percolate its way through to the upper levels of government, that they equally seek those innovations as well.
Chris, thank you. So everyone, it feels like there's a bit of a frustration in the short term because of the scenario that we're going, but we've potentially got the answer from the trade delegation the answers that you saw in New Zealand. Jack, is that a fair summary, or am I just being a bit emotional on your behalf as to the current situation?
No, I think when you look through the recommendations, and there are 20 odd recommendations, we put our heads together. We had the opportunity to go and look at what was happening in New Zealand. I think it's fair to say we've got a pretty good understanding of what's happening in the UK. And those 20 recommendations, I think, provide a really good pointer as to a future direction for the industry. And I have spoken to DEFRA. They are wading their way through the report, but they were slightly overwhelmed by the issue in the pig sector and the poultry sector, et cetera, et cetera. And I think this is our biggest challenge at the moment, is just trying to get some time with them to say, okay, these are the findings. This is what we saw. This is what we think could really work. This is how we could drive the industry forward. How are we going to make it work over the next sort of 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, well said. So it's definitely been an eye opener for all of you in the respect of the trade delegation to New Zealand. So if we could just break it down a little bit, what would you like individuals within the sector to do? Would you like them to engage? Would you like them to read that report, look at the 20 recommendations, and then to join you to then lobby government? Ali, what do you think, please?
I think there's two areas, Max. For me, the first is that I do think we should take export as a sector much more seriously. We're very reliant on our home market, which is amazing. It's fantastic. We're so lucky to have 68 million consumers on our small island. But we do have incredibly sophisticated retailers who drive a very hard bargain. And if I hear a criticism constantly from the sector, it's very low margins and the difficulty with returns. If we took export seriously, we could create other markets for ourselves. We could create more choice for our businesses. So that's the first area. That means we've got to come together and work together. There's little point in us each individually, each small business going off trying to do that. It works much better if we come together and do it as a sector. And then I think the second area is actually we need retailers to step up in the UK and really talk about the importance of our food supply chains based here in the UK, the low carbon footprint production that we have here in the UK. What do I mean that we need retailers to step up? We have just the most unrelenting price war going on in UK retail. It's driving immense pressure back down the supply chain. And we're at a moment in time now where there just is not enough labour, either seasonal or permanent. And our food supply chain in the UK is suddenly, for the first time in my career, looking really shaky. So I think we need retailers to step up and talk to government about how important the decisions that government take in the next few months are. Because at the moment, it feels like the government isn't listening. And I don't think they listen to us, but they might listen to the retailers.
Ooh, well said. Chris, same question of yourself. What do you think the sector can do to help you on the back of the trade delegation to New Zealand, please?
I think the sector in my area, because obviously I went to look at training, development, education, the careers, that kind of area, and I think already we're starting to see those green shoots developing with the new Institute for Agriculture and Horticulture. That obviously has government backing. It is coming together of a number of different organisations that are coming together to try and form a new organisation that will promote horticulture as a career out there to across the whole industry. So it's a little beacon, I think, a little green shoot that's showing up, because when we went to New Zealand, that was one area that I think the UK was probably ahead of, perhaps, of New Zealand, because New Zealand were only just starting to get to grips with how they were promoting their industry, that they had the same issues, that people weren't taking a career in the industry, the whole perception of the industry was seen by the public of New Zealand as not a worthwhile career. So I think for me, the fact that we're seeing this new organisation is a green shoot for me, and it is a way forward. And we can, I guess it highlights the fact that people will come together under the right banner to produce something that's quite meaningful in terms of a way forward.
Chris, well done. And a broadcast we did last night with Women in Food and Farming, we had the great Kirsty Barden, who's one of the key people within MDS Management Development Services. They find the cream of the proverbial crop from graduate outtake, and put them on a 2-year training program. And they've said that they've seen a huge spike of people coming in to MDS who traditionally wouldn't come to them, because these younger individuals want to come into farming and horticulture because they want to do good, rather than, no offense to Goldman Sachs, be associated with a monosyllabic corporate beast like that. They actually want to do good for the environment, and they see that being involved with farming and horticulture is the way to go. Jack, same question for you. What would you like to see collaboration-wise from the sector to assist all of you having attended the trade delegation, please?
Yeah, I think it would be really useful if people would have a look at the report, even if they just go to the recommendations section and give us some feedback. I think that's what, one of the big issues for me is actually, finding time to engage with the industry on a one-to-one basis, to make sure that what we're saying is fully reflective of what they're thinking and what they're looking for. I mean, as I say, we've all been doing this job for a considerable amount of time. We've got a lot of experience and, dare I say, a fair degree of expertise in understanding the industry. But, there's no substitute for people actually saying, yeah, I think you've absolutely nailed it here. And, I think your recommendations are absolutely right. And yes, you should be going to government, and you can go to government with the support of our sector saying this is the right thing. So for me, it's, let's get some reaction, let's get some feedback, tell us what you think. And, let's just try and build this momentum to get some change.
Jack, well done. And Ali, it sounds like you have all collectively got the answers, even before you went out to New Zealand, and the trip out there has just cemented your thoughts and tweaked it. And now you just need that adoption of UK government as the government in New Zealand has adopted the sector, and we can talk about other countries likewise. So it just feels, Ali, like we've got that roadblock to get through, that we need to have strong lobbying from the sector as a whole to show the government what needs to be done, and to present the examples of New Zealand. Ali, am I right?
I think you are, Max. And I think one of the clear areas that we came back with as a recommendation was that, because New Zealand is producing in the 6 months where we're not, and vice versa, there's actually a counter-cyclical opportunity for both countries actually to be working together. We're both small, we're both in production terms, although we're producing different crops, broadly producing about the same value. We're primarily feeding our consumers at home, where New Zealand is exporting, but there would be an opportunity for us to export together around the world and provide that 365-day supply on the crops that we're both growing, apples and pears is a really good example. There's not much opportunity from a UK grower perspective for a free trade agreement with New Zealand because their market's so small. But the opportunity that I see as an opportunity to work with New Zealand, there's so much that we could learn from them in marketing and export terms. And actually, we have a lot to bring to the party in terms of not only a large home market, but actually where they're good at research, we complement. Again, in my world, New Zealand is brilliant at apple and pear variety research. Thanks. The UK is brilliant at rootstock research. If we put those two together in a coordinated and strategic way, and there'd be lots of other examples, I think we could be together, the two countries could be a real powerhouse. Now, I don't know whether that is a message that our government is interested in, but I think that's a really exciting opportunity for UK producers. But it comes back to, it does need some government understanding, but government commitment. And that is what feels like is lacking.
Ali, well said. Chris, it feels this collaboration word. I'm just going to put a word in Ali's mouth to have that marriage between that element of fruit growing and fruit varieties would be fascinating. Chris, you look at how good we are at exporting Rolls-Royce cars. You look at how good we are at exporting trip tree jams, if I could say the lovely word, to the likes of China. We're already picking up examples of some soft fruits and some fruits being exported to the likes of New York under the British banner. Chris, surely there's even more that we can do to promote fresh produce, horticultural produce with the British banner on. What do you think?
No, yeah, absolutely. I think we tend to hide ourselves under a bushel sometimes, don't we, in terms of what we actually achieve. And I just wanted to pick up on the partnerships that we saw between government, between research, and between the growers. And I think that's one of the key areas that we noted was how they're creating their new markets now. That's going to be their latest exports to the Far East and to the Europe, and they were doing this through their R&D. And I think we were blown away by the way that government was involved in that. We were blown away by the fact that growers were involved in that. And what was coming out of it was effectively probably 5 years, maybe even 10 years ahead, but it will be their forefront of their exports that's going to continue to drive this wonderful export business that the New Zealanders have put together. So I think for me, that partnership, Ali used collaboration, partnership, but we saw that partnership as a theme that just ran through all these different layers of the industry. And I think that's something, if I could take one thing away and get people to really buy into it, be that partnership, and get government to really partner with us, but partner right the way through the supply chain.
Excellent. Chris, we've lost your screen, but we can hear you. We heard all of that, and thank you. And so everyone, just before we wrap up, the obvious question: where can we get hold of the report, please, Jack?
Yep, it should be on the British Growers website. That's www.britishgrowers.org, and it should have been published there this morning. So hopefully, if you head that way, you will find a copy. Excellent.
Okay, so just to summarise, everyone, from this obviously very enjoyable, very informative, very collaborative trade delegation, what would you like to see come out of it 2-3 years down the line? Ali, what do you want to see come out of this trade delegation in the short and medium term, please?
I love New Zealand. I love the people. I love the country. I love the culture. I'd like to see the UK fresh produce industry have the same ambition, the same drive, the same determination to work with government to deliver what could be a much bigger, much more important, thriving fresh produce industry here in the UK. And if we were able to do some of that in collaboration or partnership with New Zealand, then I think that would be a very exciting place to be.
And Jack, none of this is impossible, is it? This just
no.
All you're asking for, all three of you, the whole delegation is very little. And I'm sort of positively confused that DEFRA is involved. But then you can't get the message higher up in government over and above DEFRA. Jack, same question to you. From the basis of the successful trade delegation, what would you like to see come from it 2-3 years down the line, please?
Yeah, very similar to Ali. I think a reassessment of what British horticulture and the fresh produce industry could offer to the country as a whole and society in general. I think there's a big opportunity here. We just need others to recognize and share our thoughts about the scale of this opportunity and the benefits it could bring.
Fantastic. And Chris, we quickly WhatsApp Mark Zuckerberg and he let you back in. So I'll just ask you the question again, Chris. On the basis of the trade delegation, the successful trip you had out to New Zealand, what would you like to see the UK horticultural sector do on the basis of your learnings? How would you like to see the UK horticultural sector benefit 2-3 years out, please, Chris?
Max, I've lost all sound from you, so I can't hear the question. My apologies. I don't know if you can hear me. So for some reason I can't hear you. So,
what would you like to see the trip achieve?
Okay, I think you said, yeah. What would I like to see in the short term? I'd really like to see, personally, I'd like to see these partnerships come together with all of the organisations within the UK, some of which are sitting with us today. Come together and start to get behind, I guess, Hort UK. I guess that's probably I would leave it with. I would love to see a Hort UK starting to develop. We have TIA, we have other opportunities, but I guess if we could start that process and be there in 2 years, that would be a fantastic result for me.
Chris, thank you. Jack, we must just thank the people that organised the trade delegation, because it's such a unique thing. And it would, as Ali said at the beginning, it would be fascinating when you can to do another trade delegation to the likes of, say China or South America to continue these learnings. Jack, who would you like to thank for setting up the trade delegation in the first place, please?
Well, certainly thanks to DEFRA and the staff in DEFRA. And there were several staff that were instrumental in getting this going. We've mentioned Simon Bull, who's part of the Foreign Office based out in New Zealand. He was absolutely tremendous in terms of making all the contacts when we were there. To Hort New Zealand and the team out there, because they were terrifically supportive, very understanding, very, very free with the information and the help they were able to give us. And to all of the people that we went to visit, thank you very much. We've come back inspired by what we've seen out there. And I think our challenge now is to try and make that happen, or elements of it happen, here in the UK. Well
done. Ali, just wrap up for us. Do you think the future is bright for UK horticulture?
I think this is an amazing sector. I've always been incredibly proud to represent the sector. It's forward thinking, it's entrepreneurial, it's unsubsidized, it's business-like, it makes fast, swift decisions. So yes, I think the future should be very bright. I am worried about some of the government policy that feels like it's strangling the sector at the moment.
Ali, well done. And Chris, if you can hear me, Chris, can you hear me? Excellent. Is the future bright? Is the future bright for UK horticulture? Wrap up for us, please, Chris.
Yeah, sure. I think the future's always been bright for UK horticulture. I've been doing it since the age of 6, when child labour was okay. I'm old enough to remember those days. I think it's always been bright. I think we just have to change with the times, but I think there's some lovely innovation coming along. We've got some great businesses, really great businesses, and I really do see the future as a real opportunity for us all.
Excellent. So everyone, I'll tag British growers and the link to download the report, and especially the recommendations. But as all our 3 key players have said today, we've got to get behind them to create this positive change. It does feel that we're in the zeitgeist, that people want to buy more fresh produce. We've got these barriers initially of, let's just call it government speed bumps, but I'm sure with the likes of these experts, we can punch on through, but they all need our collaborative support. We all need to support the sector. Everyone, thank you very much for your time, and yeah, we look forward to the to following you, hopefully, to the next delegation to China. Or Ali, where else should we go? Should we go somewhere really different? What about the Isle of Wight? I hear the Isle of Wight's really nice this time of year.
Well, if I was thinking about horticulture, I'd love to go to China. I'd love to go to Holland, and I think there are parts of South Africa and South America that we should be looking at. So, yeah.
So we've started something here. Jack, where would you like the next delegation to go?
I think there are bits of America. I'm not that familiar with the production systems in America, and they operate on a scale. I think they've got some interesting things to do, but this idea of going out and finding out what other people do and see where they've got good ideas and bringing them back, it seems an excellent one to me, and a very good way of going forward.
Excellent. So Chris, we've Ali wants to go to China, bits of South Africa. Jack wants to go to Las Vegas. Chris, where would you like to go for the next trade delegation?
I would take Boris around the UK and show him what he's got in his country. So that's what I would do.
Boom. There we go.
What
a great, everyone, what a great way to end. Well done, Chris. Well done, Jack. Well done, Ali. Thank you very much for your time. And yeah, please have a look at the report, especially the recommendations. Everyone, thank you very much.
Thanks, Max.
Catch up shortly. Bye.
Thanks all.
Bye.